Welcome to the Real Retirees of New Jersey, powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. Randy and Peggy Fisher want to help you retire once and retire right. Get more information at therealretireesofnewjersey.com. They never throw the first punch, but they're always a knockout.
Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. But most importantly, thanks for listening. This is the Real Retirees of New Jersey podcast with Peggy and Randy Fisher. It's all powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. You can get more when you visit therealretireesofnewjersey.com. You can find that and all the information here in the show notes. My name is Mark Owens. Now, let's get to the show. Randy Fisher, Peggy Fisher, they say you need $1.4 million to retire. Now, Northern Mutual says they say you need $1.2 million. Do these studies mean anything to you?
No.
No. All right. Thanks for joining us this weekend. We'll see you next week here on the...
It's all over. All right. Here all week. Try to be...
the talking heads always come out and say, hey, you can't retire unless you have $2 million. You need at least $5 million.
So let me ask you a question. For everybody who's listening that doesn't have it, what do? You work forever?
Yeah.
Commit suicide? What do you do?
Jump off a bridge?
Yeah.
Go live with the kids?
So how is that a dangerous way of thinking? Somebody's listening this weekend that, Randy, they have that thought. Well, if they say I need $1.4 million to retire, well, I guess it's never going to happen.
It's so arbitrary, it's stupid, right? I mean, how about this? What if you come across someone who spends $1.4 million a year? Mm-hmm. What, they have 1 year of retirement?
Well, I think that's the whole point. This is very generalized, and I think for different people, it's totally different.
It's asinine.
Yeah,
it's like going to the doctor. Everybody's got to get on a treadmill. Everybody got to go to the gym. Everybody can't do everything, right?
Everybody doesn't have a similar lifestyle either. That's exactly.
Thanks
it.
for translating.
Thank you, babe.
Appreciate.
I'm glad
that.
we're on the same page today.
Y'all two should date.
Thanks for translating.
Would you say we should date?
Y'all two should date.
I thought I said mate.
That's already been done. But listen,
I know. That's the three beautiful children. Yes.
But if
It's
somebody,
gonna be a great show.
Here we go. Strap in.
We're off.
Let's go. RealRetireesOfNewJersey.com. But if somebody comes to you, Randy, and they say, "Hey, I heard I need $1.2 million. I'm so nervous that I don't have it. I've only saved up $700,000." They get wrapped up in their own head about that. How do you talk them off the ledge and let them know that every plan is different?
I heard Elvis is still alive.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, whatever you want to read on the internet, you'll find what you want to look for, right?
They say.
I mean, listen, everybody's, and it's so stupid, but we say the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
Everybody's situation is different, but it's ridiculously similar. You can exchange the number values, the faces change, but it's all the same. I mean, retirement is retirement. Building retirement income is building retirement income. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you got to know what you're doing.
Right.
You got to use the right tools for the job, which makes it more efficient. And you have to know the little things to take into consideration that most people don't take into consideration until it's too late.
Right. And what we like to do is create like a detailed list about that each individual person, again, because we're always going to this. This is not, we're not one thing for everybody here. It's every person is so differently detailed. And you have to go through, the whole entire, what is their expenses in retirement?
Well, someone who spends $20,000 a year versus someone who spends $120,000 a year is going to need quite a large difference of money, depending on where they're getting their income from, right?
Right, exactly.
Do they have a pension plan? Is it just Social Security? Did they get an inheritance? Did they work their tail off? Do they have an enormous 401k? Do they have absolutely no bills and eat cat food every day?
Yeah.
What's the difference in their lifestyle and their cash flow?
Right.
That's the difference between, hey, do I need 1.4 million? Do I need 400,000?
Exactly.
I have 3 annuities that are going to give me $60,000 a year in income.
I have Social Security.
And I have, $150,000 worth of extra assets, and my house is paid off, and I don't actually do anything or go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Guess what? That's a great retirement.
Sounds good. You're good to go.
It really all depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what you need to do to get it done.
But I say, if you're eating cat food, you got bigger problems than worrying about retirement now.
You never know.
Some
These
people
days,
like cat food. Yeah.
Listen, people fish for fun instead of fish for food when they're in retirement too. But there are some people that fish for food.
That's true.
Do you feel like you're fighting against those advisors that you see on TV in the big box firms? I mean, do you feel like you're kind of like the anti-advisor?
Yes, we are.
We can be. Yeah. Sure.
Well, what we get is, they didn't tell me that.
Yeah. Or I know I didn't hear that. I didn't read that.
Why are you telling me that? When that's not what I'm seeing. Not what I'm hearing.
But once we explain it to them, then I think it just becomes a very easy thing. It is,
If you make it rational and you make it understandable.
Exactly.
You just can't say this is because I said it, right? It's not like, hey, mom and dad, because I said so, right?
And then once
you can't do the
exactly.
I said so, argument.
We start creating the plan, right? And start going over like things like budgeting and where are you going to live and what do you need? And is the house paid off? And how about healthcare? And how about your basic living needs? And do you want to travel? Do you want to, no, you want to stay home? Okay. So we go through the whole entire, from A to Z really with every client and see what they need. Because again, this is for each individual client, not for like a general group.
And again, what you don't know, you don't know. But that's the stuff that hurts you the most because you don't get caught with your pants down until they fall off.
Right.
Right. And you figure out you didn't have a belt. Or, what did Warren Buffett say? You don't really figure out who's swimming naked until the tide goes out.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, right? You really don't know what the problem is until the problem happens.
Right.
And then when the problem happens, it's really too late to accomplish a solution. It's like being on an airplane that's going down and there's no parachutes, or being on the Titanic and there's no lifeboats, right? And that was the audacity of that ship, just to be, bring back a good story. They thought that it was absolutely indestructible, that they didn't have enough life vests or lifeboats because they said it would never sink.
Guess what?
You know what?
Guess what?
How about the financial plan
Spoiler alert,
that the
it sinks.
advisors
Yes,
built
that's right, Rand. Yeah.
that think are perfect,
Yes.
and it can never be destructed, or you're never going to outlive this money, or no matter what happens, it's not going to affect you. I have two words for you right now: sequence of return, or reverse dollar cost averaging. And the easiest way to simplify that is, if I'm taking money out of a portfolio and I'm building my retirement income off of that, and the market fluctuates downward, it means that I have to use more units and sell them to get the income in which I needed, because it's now worth less, right? Now, when the market goes back up, the units that I just took out of my portfolio, they're gone. I spent them, right? So even if they got 1,000% return, there's no return on an amount of money in which I already spent, because it's gone.
Right.
It cannot recuperate. So years ago, when people actually had bona fide pension plans and Social Security for their guaranteed income sources, Wall Street had a get out of jail free card. And it was those income sources that were guaranteed, that they didn't really have to rely upon market fluctuations that would effectively affect people's retirement income. So back then, the market fluctuations really didn't take much into consideration, because that was all discretionary funds. Today, unfortunately, most people, 85% of people, don't have a pension plan.
They don't.
Right? And 74% of Americans actually rely upon Social Security as their primary source of income.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's actually sad.
It is.
Yeah.
Why? Because people who actually don't have a pension plan never contributed to 401k.
Yeah. And never saved.
Never saved.
Right.
23% of people that have a 401k available to them put away $1.
Yeah.
And if you don't put away $1, how much does your employer put away for you? If you put away nothing away, what do they match?
Nothing away, yeah.
100% of zero is zero.
You're getting nothing.
Right? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So when they don't have a pension plan, and they're now living on just Social Security, and they have no other forms of income, no wonder why we actually are looking at a pretty dire approach to retirement, right? And hence the reason why it's very important to take care of your savings, or your 401ks, or your IRAs as you're in retirement or you're heading into retirement, because reverse dollar cost averaging, sequence of returns makes a difference. What's sequence of return? If I retired when the market was going up, or if I retired when the market was going down, it's going to have a tremendous effect on my portfolio. Now, that seems like a no-brainer, but when you mathematically take it into effect and you look at the cash flow streams over a course of time, it is immense. It's the difference of not having to work during retirement or learning a new phrase, right? Welcome to Walmart. How may I help you?
Yeah. That's a major phrase.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
You don't want to learn that phrase.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's a big difference.
But they were saying, though, in that article, that the reason why they think people, that number has come down is because of inflation. That was still the number one thing.
Inflation,
and they said that,
it would go up.
No, what they're saying is because inflation rate retreated to 6% in 2023 and 3% in 2024. They're just saying from there. Then it now has gone up. So that's why, like, the attitudes in a way.
Didn't know when the article.
Yeah, yeah. So the attitude.
I don't read those articles.
Yes, the attitude again. It was just the inflation rate. Are people worried about that? Are they not worried about that? I think now in times
Well, people don't listen. People don't understand the word inflation anyway, right? You have all these idiots that are out there, and you listen to the news and TV shows and everything else, and they're all saying, "Oh my God, inflation is still so high." No. Prices are high.
Right.
Yeah. Inflation is down.
Yes.
And they look at you like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Inflation made prices rise over the last 4.5 years. Once prices go up, they rarely retreat backward.
That's correct.
And that's what everybody continues to still wait on.
Yes.
And that's why everybody's still saying Trump's doing such a terrible job in the economy because prices are still so high.
Yeah.
Prices have basically all but flattened out.
They have.
So whatever they were, they still are, thank God. Because if inflation was still raging, bacon and everything else would be continually climbing higher. It's actually retreated backward. It's not going backward.
I'm back to $3.99 on bacon.
But it's stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's stabilation. Is that a word?
Stablation. Randy's creating new words
It
here.
is now.
Stablation, baby. Here we go.
Stabilization.
Stabilization.
Sounds like I was running a trip. I got a stabilization on my arm right now.
I tripped and failed.
Stabilization.
That stabilization of the prices
Yes.
is due to the flattening of the inflation rate.
Right.
And inflation has come down dramatically.
Yeah. Well, they always say that word sticky.
Dramatically.
We always say sticky
It's very
inflation.
sticky.
It's always sticky.
It's very, very
Yes.
sticky. So no, I didn't go. So getting back to my clickbait,
Yeah.
I had no idea when it was written.
Yeah, yeah.
But listen,
Still
if you're
think
looking at
the
your
article's
if you're looking at your portfolio right now and you just feel like the stabilization just isn't where you need it to be, you're not happy. 908.
Mark this date down because there's not many mistakes I make.
Yeah. Stablation.
You are going to be arguing, and Peggy's going to be like, "You remember back in June of 2025 when you said stabilization?" Well, I haven't forgot. I know you have.
She just took her pocket knife out. She's actually drawing on the wall. She's carving it into the wall right now.
Randy made a mistake. 908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337. So we were talking about one of the big problems is all these clickbait articles saying you need this much to retire. But what about the ones that say, hey, you want to retire by the age of 65. Hey, you should be retired by 70. Is that also a dangerous way of thinking, Randy?
Yes. That's more stupidity.
More stabilization?
More stabilization. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes.
Right? So, for instance, just because you turned 62 doesn't mean because you can take Social Security, it doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Just because you're 65 and you now qualify for Medicare doesn't mean you should retire. Just because at age 70 it maximizes the Social Security benefit, it doesn't mean you should wait until 70. Can you retire? Maybe. I mean, again, remember the definition. You can retire when you have more money coming in than going out. Period. The end.
Right.
Story, you could be 18, you could be 180. It doesn't make a difference. Fall in between. More money coming in versus money going out, you can retire. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And retirement's changed dramatically right now, right? So we've got people that, even though they can retire, sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually tone down the number of hours in which they're going to continue to work. And they'll basically spend time with family and travel. Or they'll start a new endeavor. They've wanted to do something else. Other people will totally retire and say, I want to do nothing, right? Watch the sun go up and watch the sun go down.
Yep.
It really makes you think, though, are or am I going to be able to do all the things I wanted to do in retirement? Do I have the wherewithal and do I have the funds
to do with what you want
to do it?
Right, exactly.
Right? Just because you have all these dreams that you think you're going to do during retirement doesn't mean you're going to get them done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Right?
comes with careful planning and saving though too. So like that's what we do talk about with the clients, have we carefully planned and saved for this?
Go years.
Exactly.
You know what? If you got things you want to do and places you want to go,
we tell that to
places
clients
you
all
want
the
to
time.
see,
Do it now.
Do it.
Do it.
But start planning it.
Yes.
And also, it doesn't mean that you have to retire in order to do them, right? How many people do we have that we start to say, okay, when do we want to retire? What are the things you want to do? Then they start doing them prior to retiring.
Exactly.
And they're like astonished that they could have done it. And they didn't think that they were going to be able to do it until they did retire.
Yeah.
It's like what? Automatically you cross the finish line and you have extra money somehow? It's not the way it works.
Yeah. Or they don't want to retire. We have a lot of clients too who are like, wait, I am
Total
going
change.
to wait till the 70 because I am going to get my pen when I leave from being here for 5 million years, right?
Watch Kick and Rocket Chair.
Yes, they do. We have a lot of clients like that, which is really funny. That's the old school too appreciation of I'm going to work until and keep working because I can, right?
Yeah.
What do people do when they retire now? People are bored.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They miss their purpose.
Yes, right. Of going to that work every day, seeing somebody every day, doing what they've been doing for the last 45, 50 years.
They got to stare their spouse in their face every day.
How do you enjoy
for 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365
every
days a
day
year.
here. Every day.
You better fall in love again.
I am falling in love.
That's why divorce rates over 65 is 1 in 4.
Great divorce. Is that the reason it's so real?
Yes.
Because it's 1 in 4. Look it up.
Well,
I agree. I've seen that statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Is that nuts?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The other big time age is after the kids get out of high school. And they say that's when they become empty nesters and there's no kids in the house.
Mark Owens, right now, my son is graduating high school. I can't tell you how many people are getting divorced right now. I'm shocked. I'm like shocked. I'll look at like certain couples are like, did you hear who was getting divorced? I'm like, no.
It's like an epidemic.
But for that just exact reason of what you said, that last kid, usually they're third or fourth, just went to college and they're like, you know what? I don't want to
fake ass people.
I don't want to do this anymore.
All right, let's talk about that for a second though. I mean, the kid gets the diploma, you get the divorce papers. I mean, what happens with that? The great divorces. What are some of the problems that adults face if a divorce is in the future or if a great divorce happens?
20 to 40% of a reduction in their value.
Yes, big time.
Think about that. I mean, who really makes out in a divorce?
Lawyers?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they'll make you drag on and fight over a goldfish for 9 years.
Yeah,
just
why
so
not?
they can have
For
billable
$300 an hour? Sure, I'd do that. Yeah.
And then who loses? The person who actually is, splitting their assets up. Because
so
who
true.
got a bigger piece of the assets than they did? The lawyer did, right?
But also don't be stupid about things either. We've had many clients come in. We talk about this all the time. Don't be stupid either and say, I just want to get this over with. Remember too, that this is a life that you've led for a long time. You put a lot of, of your heart into this. And also you put a lot of your money or your savings or your building of all of your funds. And now as you're separating or as you're, leaving that, life, you also want to make sure you're not doing something stupid and giving it away.
I guess in this instance, they can say that that's a milestone, right? Because now your kids are out, so you don't have to actually pay child support.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
right.
A good point.
That too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm smarter than the average bear.
But it's also too at that like 50 something years or early 60s, early 50s, you say, do I want to do this for like another 20, 30, 40 years?
So you jump out while you're still a cougar? Oh.
Exactly.
Tremendous.
Yes.
Crazy.
That's correct.
You're giving life advice on all angles this week.
We're everywhere. It's like Dr. Ruth. It's Dr. Ruth over here.
No wonder, literally, you have clients, and you've said it before, they'll just come and sit on your couch and watch TV and drink coffee. Just
We
to hang
love
out.
that. Yes, that's our favorite.
The aura that is Artemis Wealth Advisors and Liberty Financial Group. Real quick, 908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337 to reach out to the team. Take advantage of that initial no cost, no obligation consultation. You've done a great job. You've saved about $350,000 or more for your financial future. Now's the time to start building upon your gains with the help of Randy and Peggy Fisher. 908-844-8337. We have a representative standing by right now to talk to you. Let's talk about the widows, because I know you do a lot of work with widows in the community. What steps do you take to secure their financial future?
Well, with widows, when that happens too, first and foremost, we're here for them. And what we do is we make sure that we take care of all the things when you're in the hardest time of your life, you lose that spouse.
Soups and nuts and there's stuff you're never going to think about that needs to be done.
Yeah, never. And it's funny because one of our clients just said, oh, I'm so glad that I don't have to think about this. I can't even think right now. And that's the whole point. That's like the worst part of your life when you live with somebody for 45, 50 years, you lose that person. And now you got to worry about, claim paperwork and my money and taxes and this and that. And that's why we're here for our clients to go through all that. I will take care of every bit of paperwork. Randy will take care of every bit of paperwork that you need. You don't have to worry about a thing. That's what we're here for. I mean, we always say that like, oh, thank you so much. That's what we're here for. I say,
We've been through that rodeo before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big deal, whether it comes where you can plan for it.
Yep.
And sometimes there's good things and bad things about that. And there's some that it's an emergency and things happen and you're very suddenly, right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is it's one of these things where if it's one of these long lasting medical conditions, one of the things you really have to worry about is, is it going to bankrupt the person who survives?
Exactly.
Right? bankruptcy in America, number one reason for bankruptcy in America is what? Health catastrophe.
Absolutely. We see it all the time.
And it's not, obviously, it's not for the person who actually got sick and died. It's for the person who actually survives.
Right, exactly.
They got enough to worry about later on.
Yeah.
Now they have to worry about financially putting the pieces back together and making sure that the ends meet.
Yeah, but as we were there in the beginning and we helped you plan, we're there in the end too for all the other, things that we need to do at the end. I mean, and I want to make sure that my clients don't have to worry about that in their worst time. We'll take care of all that.
And there's things you can do. There's things that are absolutely unavoidable.
Right.
And you can't get blood out of a stone, right? But there are some things that you can do accordingly to protect assets during periods of time, move them around, put them into different trusts, things of that nature, to make sure what you have is what you have and what you keep is what you keep.
Yeah,
so
and we always give advice to it's good to have a will.
Yeah.
Always good to have a will.
It's good to have
right?
a parachute when you jump out of an
exactly.
airplane.
We always say, because people say, well, why do I need a will? I'm like, because you know what? That is your voice when you are in the ground that says, this is what I want to happen without anybody else getting into the mix of it. Because as we always talk about too, that'll never happen in my family. When that person passes away and that money is out there, it's a whole nother level.
Knives are out.
Knives are out. That is correct. Yes.
Knives are out.
What is one of the biggest mistakes you see when dealing with someone who becomes a widow?
Biggest mistake.
Is it not, you've mentioned it before that the
Being
paperwork
too nice.
isn't being too nice?
Yes, I
What do
agree.
you mean?
Being too nice.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they become a target.
Yes.
And
Target of like family or
No, in fact, it's
every single solitary thing family too, but every single thing you could think of out there.
And
it's like automatically the world knows that people are now vulnerable.
have lost someone. They do, because they look at obituaries. That's what people do.
And they have a roofer, a window guy, a driveway guy, a landscaper, sidings, bankers, scams.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. Right?
Yeah.
And then again, you do have those family members that then prey on that person too.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, Aunt Marie, I'm short $50,000. Can you borrow that?
Yeah, but it's not even that too. We always talk to, in fact, we just had a client who passed away last week. And when we said to the husband, the first thing I said to him, we're close with them. First thing I said to him, he goes, I got this thing on my phone. It said that I owe blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do not even touch it. Don't click into that. Don't click into emails. We went through the whole entire thing with him. I said, you call me and you show me if you think it's something, but never click into it. And that's what they do. People I know, and even in the state of New Jersey here, they'll look at obituaries and then they know where to go for the scam. And people are so vulnerable.
Because you're catching you such an emotional raw state.
Oh God, yeah. And then they're not even thinking. So they're like, I see
They just think it's something else that they have to do.
Yeah, that Jane Doe just passed away. Did you know that she owes some money? And then they'll be like, oh, okay, she owed money. Okay, let me.
Or it's the IRS.
Yeah, or it's the IRS, Social Security,
or somebody,
or
the funeral home.
Yes, exactly. They needed additional money. No, they didn't. And you have to be so careful. So we did. That's another thing we do, as you say, Mark. What do you do?
Yeah.
What with widowers and widows, we go over all of those things. Also, the tricks of saying, do not respond to all these scams.
Sounding board.
Exactly. And we say to them, if you get something and you think you want us to, and we have tons of clients who will send, hey, I got this in a text. Should I touch this? Do not click onto that.
We tell people for the first 6 to 9 months, just send us everything and anything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Let us look at it. Let us look
know.
at it.
And then afterwards, as time goes back and the fog wears off and you're back to kind of, I guess the word normal is the best way you could put it. Yeah. They can start to fend for themselves again, but they're in such a vulnerable position that they get taken advantage of for everything.
Yeah, and we don't want that to happen here.
Just like you have the ambulance chasers, these are like cemetery chasers. It's the people that prey upon people. Never heard that. Never heard of people calling someone up who's the spouse of someone who passed, saying,
money was owed, by the way. And they won't think twice about writing a check for something. Yeah.
And it happens with financial advisors in an environment where the husband was the primary person that the advisor used to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
And the advisor would basically be more or less an intermediary where the gentleman, if in this case, the husband would have passed away, he was the guy that was more or less controlling the funds, right? The wife really didn't want anything to do with it. She had other stuff that was more important than dealing with the money. He passes away, and now all of a sudden the brokers think that they can do whatever they want to do with the money.
Yeah.
Right? They can move it anywhere they want. They can reposition it. They can go buy life insurance, annuities, or whatever it is to squander it, to make more money, potential commission, whatever it is on their part. You'd be surprised how many times you walk into a scenario like that the entire portfolio is upended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what happened here? And they're
Right.
like, oh, the advisor just told me what to do.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why?
I was just listening to what they said.
Yeah.
He cared for my husband or took care of my husband in our funds for years. We've seen a lot of that with new clients.
A lot of
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, you had the loss of this and
Yeah.
you lost that. And
Right.
there's a surrender charge
Yeah.
on this and da-da-da-da. And, not unbeknownst to them, they have no idea.
I know it sounds like a cliche, and I feel like we say it every week here on The Real Retirees of New Jersey, that when you work with Randy and Peggy, they're with you from that very first phone call until the very end. These are things you may not be thinking about, but the importance of having a plan and, more importantly, someone to talk to. 908-844-8337. Again, 908-844-8337. Begin that conversation today. We have a representative standing by right now to talk to you, and that same representatives will be there throughout the weekend to answer the phone, to answer your questions, and most importantly, to get you on the calendar to sit down with Randy and Peggy. Hey, real quick, Randy, Artemis Wealth Advisors, what do you cover?
At Artemis Wealth Advisors, what we are is the financial planning arm of the duo. So we do taxation, tax planning, financial planning, and more or less wealth building.
Yes.
So we're looking at your portfolios that are involved in the stock market, whether it be exchange traded funds, individual equities, things of that nature, 401ks, 401k plans, 401k rollovers. We're looking at pension options, doing a lot of income planning, things of that nature. And we couple that side with the fixed side of the business, and that's what Peggy covers.
Yes.
Liberty Financial Group, what does that involve?
That involves keeping these clients very happy. That's what I like to do on my side. No, it is true. I love my clients. I like to love my clients, but not just that. We do the insurance side, annuities, all the good financial planning side of that.
She's downplaying her role, but she does a lot. She does all the life insurance, the health insurance, the property and casualty, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, all the insurance side of the game. Social Security, planning and things of that nature, looking at Medicare plans, all those things that are pretty important.
And taking care of our clients, making sure they're happy.
I really thought you were going to say, and taking care of Randy as well.
No, that's not even in the top. That's not even in the top 100.
At the bottom of the list, if there's time, then we take care of Randy. But the voices that you hear this weekend, you hear us say Liberty Financial Group, you hear us say Artemis Wealth Advisors. That's Randy and Peggy. The two voices that you hear is who you will be working with. When you sit down and have that initial consultation, when you shake hands, you give hugs, they're with you until the very end. That's Peggy Fisher. That's Randy Fisher. We invite you to call them today. 908-844-8337. That initial consultation. It's no cost. It's no obligation. We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisor services offered through Artemis Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Artemis Wealth Advisors is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Randolph A. Fisher, insurance license number 9616074, and Liberty Financial Group, LLC, and Peggy Fisher, national license number 189-42003 and 570-5833.